Coming in at number 10 is The American. By the time the final frame slides across the screen, you'll still have no idea who Jack really is. We don't know whether he is a violent man, or rather a man with a capacity for violence. We don't know where he came from or where he's going. Hell, we don't even know his last name. We know that he builds weapons, we know that he keeps to himself, and we know that this is his last job. And that, in the end, is the sinister beauty behind The American, the single most misunderstood movie of the year. What was wrongly advertised as a tense, Bourne-like thriller was, in fact, a masterful, slow-burning labyrinth of secrets, seduction, and suspense. In the end, there's no denying what The American is really about. Jack. A figure at a dark crossroads, he enters the story as mysterious and haunted as he leaves it. But perhaps in the end, that's really for the best. Sometimes it's best to keep our monsters in the closet.
A man can be rich if he has God in his heart.
I don't think God's very interested in me, Father.
Coming in at number 9 is The King's Speech, a film which has been praised as a masterpiece before it even premiered at the Toronto Film Festival earlier this year. So is the film as good as everyone says? Why, yes it is, and it bloody well knows it. The King's Speech is a heartfelt and engaging portrait of a moment in history when our leaders spoke to us rather than at us. The humanization of King George, a man as an audience will come to call Bertie, doesn't so much bring us to his level as it does bring him to ours. Still, while the foundation of the film rests on the heartbreaking plight of a voiceless man with something to say, the real appeal of the film is the wit, humor, and heart found in the unlikely budding friendship of Bertie and his speech therapist, Lionel. Both roles mastered with gusto and warm precision by the best on-screen team of the year, Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush. Both genuine and brilliant, the two dance in a waltz of cinematic perfection, each continuously raising each other's game as they elevate the film from an eloquent buddy picture to a true work of art. But in the end, the film is not about what it means to suffer as a king. It's about what it means to succeed as a human being.
Turns out, I don't know how to thank him. Bertie, you're the bravest man I know.
I intend to be a very good queen, to a very great king.
Forget everything else and just say it to me.
Coming in at number 8 is Toy Story 3. It doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 6 or 60, the magic of the final heartbreaking chapter of this brilliant trilogy is that you're left feeling like it was made especially for you. I was 7 years old when the first Toy Story hit theaters, and I remember sitting in wonder and amazement as Buzz Lightyear shot through the open air, declaring to infinity and beyond. And now, 15 years later, after I've graduated from college, I sat teary-eyed watching Andy prepare to leave his and our friends behind. We're left reminded of something that we all have to do in life: let go. This is not a children's movie. It's a movie about what it means to be a child. The hopeless imagination that, whether we realize it or not, begins to take a very distant back seat to the trials and tribulations of life. It takes you back to a time when movies were better, when animation was better, and yes, even when life was better. By the time the final scene approaches, it won't matter what you do. Look away, hide your eyes, think about a faraway childhood memory, the tears will still come. So don't fight it, it's just not worth it.
Lightyear, insert paperclip.
Rex, use your finger! Did you fix Buzz?
Bitácora espacial. Sort of.
And at number 7 is The Fighter. Now, it's easy to make a good boxing movie. It's not easy, however, to make a great boxing movie. When cinematic perfection in the ring has already been crafted, whether the source be Rocky, Raging Bull, or Million Dollar Baby, it's hard to create something that hasn't been seen before and still deserves to stand among the true knockouts. The Fighter does at least one of those. But the human core of the film lies not in the ring, but in the raw-knuckled family drama, a perfectly realized meditation of the bonds that tie us together, and the cold realization that the ties that tear us apart are all too often one and the same. Fighting for what you want is something worth commending. Fighting for what you don't think you can achieve is something more. The Fighter never seems like it believed it could be a great film. And maybe, in the end, that's exactly why it is.
Mickey, he gets in and he takes a punishment. I don't know why he does it.
Coming in at number 6 is 127 Hours. Danny Boyle's masterful 90-minute heart attack on a reel of film brings every sense of adrenaline, fear, and pain onto the screen and dares us to look away. Aaron Ralston's horrifying ordeal becomes an operatic chorus of hope, bravery, and perseverance. The climax of the film, perhaps the most talked about moment of cinema this year, is both painful to watch and beautifully constructed. Neither intrusive nor objective to the horrors that Ralston suffered, it is a bloody moment of unbelievable sacrifice that remains both earned and justified. So sit down, you're not going anywhere.
Do not give up.
And at number 5 is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Edgar Wright's mind-blowingly too cool for school love story scales the comic book frames of pop culture, snowballing into an epic mashup of slick video game fight sequences, visually ingenious rock concerts, and in the end, one of the most unique takes on the boy meets girl love story to hit the screen in years. As a comic book adaptation, Scott Pilgrim triumphs, but as a film that pays homage to the video game geeks we either know, love, or are, Scott Pilgrim justifies our generation's bad habits and redeems our laziness by proving that, when it comes to love, there is no skill that isn't worth using to get to the next level, no matter which game you're playing.
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Coming in at number 4, True Grit. Easily the most accessible of the Coen brothers films, a style you either get or you don't, True Grit weaves the smooth cowboy poetry of an age long forgotten and hardly appreciated by the new generation of modern-day moviegoers, reminding us of the vicious beauty that could be found in the days when the eye for an eye style of justice could leave you sporting a pretty stylish eye patch. It's a shame that more westerns aren't made these days, but it's an even bigger crime that when they do manage to ride through the local cinemas, they hardly ever offer anything that justifies their timeless place in the heart of classic Hollywood. Yet, as the screen faded to black on True Grit, a film that managed to take me back to a period of cinema I can only dream of living through, I couldn't help but feel that maybe the best things in life are worth waiting for. So take your time, Hollywood. I'm not going anywhere.
I will avenge Papa's death.
At number 3 is Black Swan. Both horrifying and tragic, Black Swan beautifully encapsulates what it means to be an artist from the perspective of a girl who neither sees the lines she is crossing nor cares that she's crossing them. Natalie Portman all but shreds any sense of herself, submerging both physically and emotionally into a role that could have easily broken her. And the best performance of the year, Natalie Portman is sweeping in a role that, like the Swan Queen herself, demands both a sense of beauty and a dive into a grotesque depravity to achieve the perfection that both she and her character aspire towards. In the end, the outside pressures of an artist are both often the sources of brilliance and madness, but it's scary how close the two really are. At number 2, The Social Network. David Fincher's ambitious snapshot of a crucial moment in changing history is a dark and relevant masterpiece, one that will define a moment for future generations to learn from. Whether that is a good or bad thing will be interesting to discover. By asking the question, did Mark Zuckerberg create Facebook, The Social Network explores a society's dark ambitions through a subject that should have been boring, but instead succeeds as the most socially relevant and important film of the year.
As for the charges, I believe I deserve some recognition from this board.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Which part?
And my number 1 film of the year is Inception. The beautiful and brain-twisting architecture of Inception represents everything that movies are about. Impossibly stunning, deceptive, and complex, the film demands more from its audience because it knows that you've demanded more from it. An elaborate heist film as well as an interesting look into the idea of dreams, Christopher Nolan's imaginative playground is what separates him from every other director in the business, and what makes movies like Inception possible. Inspiring some of the most thoughtful and tangled discussion amongst movie fans in years, the film's controversial ending was exactly what a film of such enjoyable and perplexing ideas could have hoped for. What's important is that Nolan has crafted a work of cinematic perfection that gives me hope in the concept of the summer blockbuster and movies in the dream of original ideas. And that helps me sleep at night.
Dream's collapsing.
Have it under control. I'd hate to see out of control.